Good morning, friends. I'm all tucked in here. I'm taking my medication, but I don't feel all that great yet. I feel better, and I can tell that things are... How are you? I'm going to start with how are you? Hello, everyone, and how are you? How's that? Good morning and happy Thursday. We're going to start there. We're not going to start with the sickness. So how's everybody? I hope you're all snuggled in. You got your coffee? I got my coffee. So Dad is on the move. So I've got my Colorado cup today. That's very rich smelling also. Really kind of surprised with these decaf on how rich they smell. So if you've been following me since we started our chats, this is just me sitting down in my chair and talking to y'all. And I'm pulling coffee out of a box that I got from Amazon. And I'm doing decaf due to the fact that I have acquired AFib. So I'm trying to only do 1 cup of caffeine in the morning. So then when I sit down to talk with you guys, I drink the decaf. I forgot the cup, but I got up and got it before I hit the button. So full disclosure, I actually forgot it, and I was like, then I went up, got it, come back. So anyway. That one is stronger. Stronger, but not as smooth. So this is called Vanilla Hazelnut Decaf, and it is the Authentic Donut Shop out of Oakville, Ontario, Canada. It doesn't taste bad. It's got a strong taste and not as smooth. So if I weren't trying to taste all the flavors in it, this is something I would be putting creamer in for sure. So there's that one. Okay, I did not get all the way around. And I told you guys it was going to take longer, right? So yesterday we picked Rustic Romantic by Yarn Bee. I want to tell y'all a little bit. Mr. Fiber pulled these. I asked him to choose 15 colors and put it in a bag, and then I would pick a color out, and I asked him what he wanted me to make with it, and he said to make a poncho. And he said detail wise he didn't care what stitches or whatever, but he said do 7 rows of each color, and that should make, a poncho. And then I told him generally where my number 4 weight yarns were, that I was going to do it number 4 weight yarn. And so he picked, and a lot of my yarns, if you've seen my she shed tour, I have a lot of them up here along on a shelf, and they're sitting like this facing out. And I think he was seeing those and picking, because I could tell where there's a lot of spots missing up there. So he wouldn't have known what they were called or anything. He's just looking at color and the size of the yarn. I did tell him a little bit, like, if you look on the back, it'll have a number 4 or whatever. But I said it's not a whole big problem. If you look at the yarn and that looks like it's about the same size as all the others, don't worry about it. So that's more what he was going on than anything else, and the color. So there we are. So that's what we picked. And this one is 85% acrylic and 15% hemp. And it's been kind of interesting because as I'm going along, all the bits are kind of showing up. So there's bits of hemp on here, and there are nubs, and you could just tell that the way they got wrapped together, that it's not really incorporated into the yarn all that well. So it may be something that sheds also. Of course, I'm not doing the whole garment in it, but anyway. And then yesterday, if you're not sure about it, I did post some pictures in my community tab about that stitch that I am using on this row. And I'm almost done with this row, but I didn't get any farther. After I went to the doctor and I talked to you guys after Mr. Fiber got home and I was taking all my medicine, I had another episode of AFib yesterday evening. So it started about 8 o'clock yesterday evening. I managed to stay awake until about 9, a little after 9. And then it was like, I can't keep my eyes open. The AFib was making me something was making me tired. Something was. So I went to bed, and I really didn't get much done on anything. So I am still on that special stitch, and I've got, here's my, I can see my end of my row coming. So I'm just going to work on that, and I will keep on going. Today, you guys wanted me to talk more about Germany. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about Germany. And we're just going to forget the whole sickness thing for a little while. That's all I'm going to say about that. I will say this. After my appointment coming up on the 21st, if they decide that I need to not drink caffeine at all, I have decided that if you drink a good quality coffee, it won't matter. But I'm really glad to have this little experiment with this box of decaf stuff so I can order more from Amazon or try more from different places. I like herbal tea, but I'm such a coffee drinker. But I think I could do it if I had to drink just decaf. I do think I could do it. Serbs is doing the roll around on the floor. The sun is out today, but it is still a little bit chilly. We were in the 40s this morning. Actually, I think we may have been in the 30s this morning and then warmed up to 40. And it's nice that the sun is out. So I've got 2 heaters going, but I will probably have to turn them down. So if I wind up having to stop this and turn down my other heater, I will. But I have a little remote. Now let me count them here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 7 remotes over here. I used to laugh at the old folks that had all the remotes. So this one is for my heater. That's over here to my left. I'm actually going to turn that one down a little bit. So hang on just a second. Okay. Because I had to lean all the way over in front of you to do that. So, okay, Germany. So Mom and Dad and I went, it was late 70s when we went over. And it wasn't unusual for military families that were coming into Germany to have to stay somewhere before you get what they call billeting. So, in other words, they're not like, okay, we've got this family coming and we are automatically have a home for them, because they have choices for you depending on where the enlisted person, my dad, depending on where his job was, then they would have choices. And they have housing on bases, and they have housing off bases. So they have like a contract or an agreement of some sort with various civilians that rented to the military regularly, and so they would always have a list of those homes also. But when you first get there, you're waiting for housing. And we did not immediately live on the base. My mom and dad had decided they didn't want to be on base. They had decided they wanted to get something and have an off-base home. And you would get, what they call that? Housing. You get housing allowance for getting something. You still had to pay out of pocket partially for the housing, but they gave you an allowance. So depending on how much our allowance was, would determine where we were able to, and how much my dad's salary was, then, you know, as to how. And we weren't off. He was not an officer. So I'm liking that the more it cools off. I love my coffee hot, but when it starts to cool down, then I can taste the flavors better. And so when we first got there, we stayed actually in a hotel. Now, we came into Wiesbaden, Germany, and it's on the north part of Germany. And if you're wondering, well, were you anywhere near like communism, the communist stuff, the this, the that? So we were in West Germany. That's where most of, now that doesn't mean that there wasn't military in other parts of Germany, because there's military down in Bavaria, which is the southern part of Germany. They were all over, but at the time that we were there, the wall, there was still a wall. I mean, if you remember during Reagan, which was 80s, that's when, you know, he was calling for Gorbachev to take down the wall. So the wall was still there when we went over in the late 70s. So we were in West Germany. Let's see. So when we got there, we stayed in a hotel, and we stayed at one called the Amelia Earhart. The Amelia Earhart Hotel in Wiesbaden, Germany. And there was a little ice cream shop down below. There was I think there was a restaurant. We were given a little bit of money when we first got there. Y'all have to excuse me, because with whatever's going on with my head, I keep messing with my eyes today because my vision is off today. Whatever it is I'm taking, I don't know if it's the antibiotic or the steroids, but something is making my eyes blurry. I have a suspicion that it is the steroid. I have 3 options here with my trifocals. So watching the TV, I've been using the middle one. So I'm trying to find a spot here that works for me for looking at stuff. It's all screwed up today. Mr. Fiber has gone to work. It's just me and Serbs. He gets off early though. His schedule has changed. So he gets off early. He'll be home by, and here's another one of those little bits. Can y'all see the little hemp? and it's kind of like a hard piece. Like a little piece of jute is what it actually feels like. I just crochet them in. Anyway, the Amelia Earhart, there was a bunch of military families in there that were waiting for housing. And so there were others my age, other teenagers. You know, I was 14? 13. Might have been 13 when we went over. I'd have to go back and do the math, but it was either 13 or 14. And I wasn't really all that outgoing. I know it's hard to believe, but at that age, I wasn't shy. I was more reserved. Okay? Wasn't being shy. If I liked somebody or, you know, whatever. I mean, I wasn't shy with people, but I just was, you know, it was a new place. I didn't know what to think of things, you know, because you're surrounded by people who you don't understand because you know, there's this new language. And I didn't know that language. And German, the nature of German is what they commonly refer to as a guttural language. So it sounds a bit harsh when you hear it. So that, of course, it's not melodic like French or even Spanish, because Spanish is melodic in a different way. And I've heard people speak Russian is guttural to me. German, Russian, all of those things. At one time I wanted to be a linguist. That's what I wanted to be. When I was in Germany, because I started to take German, the German class. In total, I had 4.5 years of German, and I believe I took 8 hours of German in college. It's the only actual college I took besides beauty college was German when I got back to the States. And guttural language like that, so when people are talking around you, you're like, you're not sure they're mad or if they're just, because they seem like a mad people. As you can imagine, as a teenager, when you're hearing a language that's like that, you're just like, but the German people themselves are what they call a very sturdy and very studious, very rigid, not as friendly. They're workers. They work. So, you know, their life is about going to work and getting it done for the most part. And even at home, they're that way. I know that from my experience, and I can say that to you now as an adult. As a teenager, you can imagine what life was like, because it was like, you know, here I was, as I say, a stranger in a strange land. Now that's a reference to a book that you guys, if you know it, you know it. If you don't, you don't. Hello, Water Brother. Anyway, the kids, I got to know a couple of the kids. I couldn't tell you any of their names or if I even remained friends with any of them, because we were all going, this was a central point in that area. and these kids and I were all going to would be going to different schools, different places, you know, different ages, different grades. So I don't even remember if I knew any of them after getting into housing and going to going to school. Now, when I first got over there, I wasn't in high school yet. We moved over to Germany when I was halfway through 8th grade. So I wasn't actually in high school just yet. Hold on just a minute. Heart rate's up again. So my parents decided on a place in Rüsselsheim, which was, you know, I would say it was less than 30 minutes from school. So my high school was actually in Wiesbaden, on the base there. And so I went to school in Wiesbaden, and was it on the base? Yes, it was. So the school was at the top of the hill, and then we had the BX and all that stuff that was down the hill from the school. So yes, it was on base. But when we moved over there, it was halfway. It was the halfway mark. So mid-semester of my 8th grade year. So it was actually very interesting because going to school this would have been my first experience with military school. Now, not military school like being an enlisted person, but they called it DODS, Department of Defense Dependent Services, maybe something like that. DODS schools. Department of Defense Dependent Schools, maybe somewhere like that. And I was halfway through 8th grade, and the 8th grade, the middle, the junior high, as we would say, was across the street from the high school. And I rode the bus. So I rode the bus to school and from school. So there's a whole story with the bus. It wouldn't be me if I didn't have a story. First week, I think it was the first day, I managed to get on the bus to go to school. I really think it was I think it was the first day. And then after school, I went out and I had my bus number, all of those things. And I kept waiting. I didn't see my bus number. My bus number did not come up. All of the buses came, all the buses left. My bus was not there. I went to the office and they said, well, you were supposed to get on such and such bus. And I said, but I didn't know that. It was the first day. So I called, they called my dad's work. And my dad was unable to get off work to come over at that moment. He was out. He was on a job. So they sent someone from his squadron to come over and get me and take me home, because I told them, I said, well, I know how to get home. No, I didn't. just because I had ridden the bus to the school, I thought I knew how to get home. Man, oh man, let me tell you. We drove. This is before GPS on our phones, y'all. Yeah. And he was very patient. He said, does any of this look familiar? No. Does any of this look familiar? No. I wound up back at the school, and my dad came and got me when he got off work. I never did get us there. Never did. My mom was at home, and she didn't have a phone. And she's like, she should have gotten off the bus. She should have been home by now. She had no way of getting hold of my dad. We were new in our house and everything, you know. Oh, what a day. So you now know that Jill has no sense of direction, okay? So that was the first day. But anyway, after that, things went fine. Didn't get lost after that. But yeah, I rode the bus to and from Rüsselsheim. And the bus stop was not very far. But I had to walk down my street and around the corner to like a parking lot. I don't remember what that place was, but there was a place there, and it was a parking lot. And I had to walk down there to the school bus. And there was a lot of days of taking an umbrella, all those things. I have natural curly hair, if you can't tell. My hair was longer, and it was probably down to, I always kind of wore it down to my shoulders. And I wore it, for a long time, I wore it in a Farrah Fawcett. So I would curl the sides back. Now, a lot of times I would just take, because I have natural curly hair, I could just take the brush, the round brush, and I could roll it around and turn it back into the Farrah Fawcett on the side. And I've always worn glasses. I didn't get contacts till we got back to the States. Because, you know, Mom and Dad could not really afford to put me in contacts, and I could get my glasses from the military at no cost to dependents. Now, the glasses that they provided, I was very, very, I had very few choices in the glasses. Very few choices, but I always managed to find something that looked okay on me. And I wore bottle bottoms, y'all. Bottle bottoms. I do have a picture of myself standing at my locker with my Farrah Fawcett hairdo and my glasses. So if I can find that, then I will put a picture in for you guys. So, living in Germany, oh my goodness. Like I said, we had an upstairs apartment. So when I got to, in front of our house, we had a gate, went down a walkway, went in a stairwell, from the front door into a stairwell, and then we walked up the stairs to our apartment. And our landlord lived downstairs. And of course, I have a story about the landlord too. I sure do. I'm down here to the last one. I am going to throw in an extra right there. Yeah, that looks good. So the landlord was German, and he had, I believe he had two little ones, two little kids. Right now in the back of my brain, I'm trying to remember. I think his name was Strauss. No. Gosh, what was his name? Man, it's been too long, you guys. I cannot remember his name. We're going to... Strauss means street in Germany. Started with an S, though. It was Straub. S-T-R-A-U-B. Herr Straub. I believe that was right. Okay, I had to let the camera cool off just a little bit. I have made it back around, and I am now doing the next row. And it's just going to be a regular double crochet row. There's how that's looking. That's what that texture one looks like. It'll have a ridge on the back side. So we lived at this, and we had to, someone upstairs, with that, if you didn't have a key, then someone upstairs would have to buzz you in. In other words, someone in your home or something, you would punch me out there at the gate. I mean, at the door entrance. The gate also had an entry, so you couldn't actually get into the drive, onto the walkway without that. So you punched on the, it's like a concrete, you know, pillar, and the gate clicked. It was a metal gate that clicked, almost like a, I don't know how to explain it. It wasn't a door, it was an actual metal gate. And you punched the button, and someone would buzz you in. So they would, when it buzzed, you pushed and it was open. And then you closed it behind you. When you went to the door, you did the same thing, because they would wait. They would buzz, you'd come in the gate, and then they'd buzz again, and then you'd go in the door. And then someone would have to let you in to your door to the apartment. So I didn't, unless, but I mean, I had a key too. Anyway, extra security. The man likes security, Herr Straub. And I have a story about Herr Straub and my dad. We had lived in this house for quite a while, and the windows over there, all the windows opened out. So they were like a double hung window where you could roll, you would wind this handle and the window would open. Or some of them you would unlatch it and the window would go out, but it wouldn't go all the way down. It wouldn't like fall down. It would go out to a certain degree to let air in. And that's the kind of window we had in the bathroom of that apartment. Now, my mom and dad were not the type of people that would let grass grow under their feet. If something needed to be fixed, they'd fix it. They didn't like to have things go on and on and on. And when we got there and started using that bathroom, we would have to leave the door to the bathroom open whenever any of us were taking a shower, and open that window because there was wallpaper in that bathroom. Well, the wallpaper, even doing that, the wallpaper began to mildew. So we had gone downstairs to tell the landlord that this was going on and that my mom and dad wanted to replace the wallpaper in that bathroom, and to find out if he would install a fan in that bathroom because there was no fan. Well, I'm the one that was speaking German. This was some time. This wasn't when we just first got there. This was some time, but I was enrolled in German. I was already a freshman because we got there halfway through 8th grade. So this was like I was a freshman and I had started taking German. I was talking German with the neighbors. I mean, I was in the German. I was learning the German. And I went downstairs with Dad to translate. And Dad and Herr Straub got rather heated between the two of them. So I went upstairs. I just left and I went upstairs. And I told my mom, I said, I'm not translating anymore. And she goes, why, what happened? And I said, well, there's not enough words. Most of it's all cussing. It was, it's like, done. I'm out. Oh. He did not want anybody messing with anything, even though Mom and Dad were going to pay to fix it. He was a hard man. Okay, you guys, I'm going to cut this short. I will talk some more about Germany. I wound up becoming friends with the little girl across the street. Her name was Renata. Renata and I became very good friends. Her mother's name was Ella. And there were other children, Iris and Sven. So anyway, I will get more into that tomorrow. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'm going to continue with my medications, and I have to eat every time I take that stuff. Anyway, I will talk to you tomorrow. I love y'all. Have a wonderful day and have fun today. Bye, everybody.